Hi, I'm Max, and this is the start of my YouTube channel. I decided to create a YouTube channel as part of my New Year's resolution, which was to explore more tech and build more things and, hopefully improve my craft as a software engineer along the way. And I hope that by building stuff in public with the help of this YouTube channel, it will help keep me accountable and will also serve as a way to document my findings and experiences. Another reason I wanted to create this channel is because I wanted to have sort of an outlet, a creative outlet for myself to kind of like talk about all that crazy stuff that's going on right now and how fast everything is moving. Like it's really hard to just like stop and process all of it sometimes and like kind of take a deeper look at like what's good, like what's working and what isn't, and really take the time to separate the actual useful things from all the hype and noise. Anyways, I wanted to dedicate this first video to go a little bit over who I am and what the plan is and what I'm trying to do, and hopefully give this whole YouTube thing a bit of a structure. So a little bit about me. I'm a software engineer. I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and I'm an American, but I live in Germany and work here. So I got a family, a mortgage, a house, like the whole 9 yards. I've worked at pretty regular run-of-the-mill companies over here. Some big, some small. One major thing that I managed to do in my relatively short career is that I've managed to pigeonhole myself into a very specific niche called quality engineering. And that is just a very fancy way to say that I'm the test automation guy. So if you've been in a similar situation before, then you know what the big problem is with being pigeonholed in a very specific niche. And that is that it's very hard to get out of that niche and gain experience working on something different, and that's what I want to do here. I want to explore different stacks, different tech, maybe even different fields, like try out some embedded things, as I've mostly worked with web related stuff up until now. And another thing that I wanted to do is kind of like provide a more grounded perspective, like a quote unquote regular Joe perspective on the field, because not everybody that's a software developer, works at Google or any of the other FANG, MANG, whatever acronym we use these days for those companies, he's a corporate rock star earning $500,000 in total compensation. It's completely subjective, of course, but I feel like the perspective of the regular 9 to 5 software dev is really missing out there right now, and it's everybody tries to look like the subject matter expert on the latest hype tech. So, I wanted to show what it's like for someone that's not on the bleeding edge of things. Because if I'm honest about myself, right? Like I'm competent, but I'm not like a 10x, 100x, 1 million x squared to the power of 3 kind of engineer either. Like I have my opinions, and I'm very motivated to keep on learning and progressing. I can probably talk your ear off about when it comes to automation and quality engineering. I want to work on a lot of different projects. And, as for those projects, I kept a list for most of the for a big part of last year that I want to start working through, and I'll probably do a separate video on what those projects are, But yeah, if you haven't guessed it by now, I will be using AI for probably most of the things that I want to build, but like not in a not in a way of like, oh, hey, look, I made AI build me this, so that's what I built, and now give me all your money kind of way. I want to kind of like just really do it in an exploratory and an educational kind of way to see whether it will take my job in 6 months, as was promised. And I already use AI in my daily work, sure, but, not in any kind of capacity where I would confidently say that it can solo a whole SaaS in an afternoon, And honestly, the projects that I want to work on are, just probably just too big for one person with a full-time job and house and kids and whatever, and in that case I do think AI is like a really good tool for that, just to really explore and try something new, without putting in months and weekends worth of work into it and then just getting rid of the whole thing. And on that note, I want to do a deeper dive into, see if this promise of like being a solopreneur is real with AI, like, can AI actually help you ship things as a solo developer, And with that, one of my goals this year is to take at least one project to its complete natural conclusion, So, if I'm going to build an app, I want to put it up on an app store, or maybe develop a tool or something to and open source it and see where that goes, And so like, it's all those things that you hear and read about that people are doing, but you don't necessarily realistically have the time, the knowledge, or maybe even the courage to try yourself, like those kinds of things. And, if anything, maybe, I'll end up in some good discussions somewhere along the way and, maybe learn a few things. So, yeah, I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to structure the videos on the projects, when I'm talking about them. Because I'm pretty sure watching me put in prompts is pretty boring. So maybe I'll do something along the lines of like breaking down the system design of the things I'm working on, like where AI did good, where AI did bad, what's working, things of that nature. My main goal for this channel is authenticity and making videos that I would enjoy watching myself, so I'm not planning to sell any unnecessary courses or whatever, but I like to think of it as something between just building stuff and having fun with the boys and like a pair programming session at work. Yeah, and a big part of this whole philosophy for me is that for one, I told myself I'm not going to use any generative AI for the actual videos or any of the scripts that I'm writing, but also I don't want to just pump out content for the sake of pumping out content. God knows I don't want this to become a second full-time job for myself. And I hope I can keep that promise, to be honest. Yeah, so if you made it this far, thank you. I'm almost done building my first mobile app, so I hope you tune in to see how that turned out. Thanks. Bye. It'll help keep me. Yeah. So,